Having strong test-taking skills is another way that we can help ensure our academic success. Now, many of us have gone through school, elementary, middle, and high school, with having teachers tell us that we have a test on a particular day, being told perhaps the content that's being tested, and maybe even being told what types of questions will be on the test. Multiple choice, true, false, fill in the blank, essay questions, and so on. But most of us do not have the opportunity to really learn how to be a good test taker. This module presents some skills that you can use to improve your overall test-taking ability and help ensure that you get the results that you desire. Now, before you take the test, it's important to have dedicated time to study, which means that you should not be cramming the day before or the day of the test. You should really move through the semester studying a little bit each day, ensuring that you're actually learning and not just memorizing information before the test. If you need more information regarding study skills, you can visit the module for study skills. We've all, though, experienced this phenomenon where we cram or study the day before or the day of a test. We feel like we've got all of this information we need for the test. We take the test. We may even do really well on the test. But the minute we finish the test, it's almost as if all of that information just leaves us. And it's because we've memorized it as opposed to actually learning it. Now, when we're taking a test, first and foremost, it's important to relax. Remember to breathe. Read the instructions carefully so that you know what is expected of you for each section of the test. And we can learn to use the test to our advantage by practicing something called DASH. As shown by the bold letters here, DASH stands for asking yourself a question. Do I know this? For each question that you encounter on the test. And then your answer to that question, always. You can always answer that question or that type of question. So what you should do is simply answer the question and move on to the next one. If you can answer the particular test question some of the time, you should then move on to the next one and come back to answer that question. And if you find yourself faced with a test question that you can hardly ever answer, or perhaps never answer, you leave those questions until last. I know that this may seem like it's much more time consuming because you do end up going through the test multiple times. However, trust me, it is much more efficient and it helps you use the test to your advantage. Because you may find information in the test itself that can help you answer some of the questions, especially some of those questions that you could normally only answer some of the time or hardly ever. It also guarantees that you will get to answer all of the questions where you know the answer. This way you're guaranteed the points for those questions instead of risking running out of time and not getting able to complete the test. And by going through the test multiple times, it can also serve as a prompt to remind you of information that you have learned in the class, but you may not be able to recall at that very moment. Time is always an issue when taking a test because time is limited. This is incredibly important when you're taking an online test. Many online tests are timed, so you can only answer the questions on the test within a particular window of time. And even if the test itself isn't timed or there's no time limit set by the instructor, it's important to note that Blackboard has a default timeout. After 3 hours in Blackboard, you will lose what you've done, because Blackboard automatically has this default timeout. Unfortunately, the way Blackboard works with this is that it does not give you warning It does not offer a pop-up window. It simply allows you to keep working until such time as you go to save a file or close a file, and then you're informed that you are no longer logged in. So you need to make sure that you watch the clock. And this is especially important in situations where your instructor may not allow a second chance to take a test. So by utilizing Dash, it really forces you to not spend too much time on a single question and ensures that you will get to answer all of the questions you know the answers to earn those points. Some other things related to online tests are that it's important to have scrap paper and something to write with available. Even if you're taking the test online, you should have paper and pen or pencil available to you to write stuff down. It can be helpful to jot down notes or ideas as you move through the test. And if you have a test that has any either short answer or essay components, you want to be able to prepare and set yourself up for success before you start typing into the test itself. It's also important to have a quiet space with no distractions while you take the test. The more distractions you have, the less likely or less able you are to be able to focus on the test and do your best. Now we're going to look at some question types and methods that you can use to improve your success with these particular types. The first one we'll look at is multiple choice. Multiple choice, sometimes referred to as multiple guess. We have the whole phrase, when in doubt, pick C. But there are other things that we can keep in mind to improve our overall performance on multiple choice questions. First, pay attention to qualifiers. Words like usually, none, always, never, or other keywords like except, all but the following, the best, the least. These words and phrases are really put in there to help us focus on the best answer to select. Unfortunately, they are frequently overlooked when we're reading a test, so it's important to read carefully. You should also try to anticipate the correct answer before actually looking at the answer choices. So you read the question, you determine what you feel the answer is, and then look at your answer choices to find that answer. Be sure that you read all of the options. Eliminate the ones that you know are incorrect. With multiple choice questions, you'll frequently be faced with two answer choices that are similar. So before you select your final answer for the question, you want to make sure that you read through all of them. You also want to look for options that contain other options. These are called umbrella options. These are the answer choices that are all of the above, none of the above, A and B, C and D. Read all of your options carefully to ensure that you are picking the correct answer, because in an umbrella option question, you may read answer number A or letter number A and say, oh, that is the correct answer, and stop reading the answer choices. But if you were to continue reading the answer choices, you would then discover that A and B are correct, and you really need to select that answer option. Looking at your answer choices also is important in terms of the length of the response and the familiarity of the response. If something sounds familiar, that doesn't necessarily make it correct. So it becomes extra important to read through all of your answer choices to ensure that you are picking the best answer. Similarly, longer responses may have more clues in them. It might just not be that it's a matter of more words. There's more content there for you to look at in terms of determining which answer is correct. For true-false type questions, again, you want to look for those qualifiers and absolutes: always, never, all, none. If they're present in the statement, there's a higher likelihood that the statement is false, because most things do not exist in the realm of absolutes. If a statement is more detailed or specific than most, chances are that that is a true statement. With true-false type questions, never leave one blank. You have a 50-50 chance of getting it right, so you might as well guess if you are unsure. And if you come across a statement that sounds unusual or unfamiliar, it's much more likely to be false than true. With matching questions, the first thing you should do is read all of the items in each of the columns. So normally for matching, you have a numbered column, which are the quote questions, and then you have a lettered column, which are the definitions or explanations. And your goal is to match the letters to the numbered questions. You want to be sure to read both columns first before even selecting any answers. Then instead of looking at the word column and selecting a match, read the column with the definitions or explanations and work backwards. So you're not looking at the questions, instead you're looking at the answers and then working to match those answers to the questions, as opposed to looking at the questions and then trying to find the answers. And with a long list of matching questions, you should go through and again do the easy ones first. Those are the ones you can always answer, because that then helps you eliminate possibilities as you move through to the ones that you can sometimes answer and then hardly ever answer. For short answer or fill in the blank questions, you may be presented with something where you don't know the complete answer, but you remember something. Write it down. You may get partial credit for that, whereas leaving a blank will get you no points at all. So for instance, if the correct answer is 1904, but you can't remember that it's specifically the year 1904, but you know that it is within the first couple years of the 1900s, you could write 1900s, early 1900s, because that at least demonstrates to your instructor some understanding of the topic at hand. When you're asked to write sentences, really focus on using proper grammar and complete sentences. Pay attention to plural responses. If the question asks for causes or examples or changes, it's looking for more than one. So try to answer with more than one. You want to make sure that you answer as completely as possible. And then look at the number and length of the space that's to be filled for possible clues for the length of your answer. An instructor may give you a short answer question where you simply have a little line to fill in because you're filling in the blank in a sentence. So you know it's either a single word or a short phrase. Whereas if you have a different short answer question where you have multiple line spaces given to you, you know that your answer should be more than one word or a short phrase. It should be a couple sentences. And then lastly, we have essay questions, which tend to be the most challenging for test takers because you have such limited time. Again, this is when looking over the test can serve you. Looking over the test allows you to review some information that you might be able to use in your essay response. Be sure that you read that essay question carefully. Look for keywords in the question, things like discuss or compare or define, to ensure that you know what is expected of you. Then this is where it comes in handy to have some scratch paper. Do something that I refer to as a memory dump. Jot down everything that you know about that particular subject that could be used in answering the question. Use that pen and paper or pencil and paper to make a brief outline of the major points that you want to discuss, so that even if you can't finish the essay, you could get partial credit for the outline that you show that you know what you wanted to say, you just didn't have time to perhaps say everything. And again, you want to focus on proper grammar, punctuation, and sentence structure. You want to always write your essays with complete sentences. Begin your essay with the wording of the question. So for example, if the essay question asks you, discuss the 5 major causes of the American Revolution, you could have a sentence in your introduction that starts, the 5 major causes of the American Revolution were, and then list those 5 causes, which you then go on to discuss in more detail in your essay. And lastly, you want to have enough time to do a quick proofread of your essay and make any corrections as needed. Maybe as you were writing, you skipped over something that is really important, or maybe you changed the wording of something and it doesn't quite make sense. You want to be as clear and detailed as possible on your essay questions, because essay questions in particular afford you the opportunity to earn partial points, because you don't get the essay question all right or all wrong. There's a lot of leeway there to earn you some points, even if some of the information you present in the essay is incorrect. Hopefully, some of these test-taking skills prove helpful for you. I highly recommend looking at and working through the module for study skills and note-taking as well. Good luck!